As I mentioned, though, in terms of National Cabinet meeting today, that meeting is still continuing with schools on the agenda. We do have our reporters standing by in Canberra, Melbourne and Darwin on what is a developing story. As I just mentioned, we are going to be hearing from the Prime Minister in around an hour or so on this, along with the Chief Medical Officer, Brendan Murphy. Eliza, firstly, to you, we have seen, of course, the Prime Minister really pushing for national consistency. I'm being told that when he holds this news conference shortly, we will see some national guidelines when it comes to how teachers and students and parents can expect to make that safe transition back to school. This would be something of a win for the Prime Minister. He wants national consistency, he wants to be able to speak with one voice, but it's very difficult, of course, when we've seen different states and territories come up with their own plan. It doesn't help, of course, that the way the school system works is that school holidays are at different times. So, for example, you've got WA just kicking off its school holidays right now, whereas Victoria, most Victorian students went back yesterday. So because of that shifting timeline, it means that different premiers have had different considerations to deal with, along with different infection rates, of course, to take into consideration. What are we expecting, Eliza, in terms of where they'll land today?
Well, Ash, as you say, the key mission of National Cabinet today has been to end that uncertainty for parents over exactly when schools should be reopening. We've heard so many mixed messages from the federal government and from different states on this issue, and schools have sort of started to move towards remote learning as parents keep their kids at home. But the national medical advice has been consistent through this whole process that it is safe to send kids at school. One key sticking point, though, for the Cabinet has been the safety of teachers, and it's something the Health Minister Greg Hunt says is being worked through.
And this is what National Cabinet is considering, to make sure there are the safeguards and in particular the confidence for teachers and parents during drop-off. So the safety of children is very well established, and that's just absolutely paramount. But we also want to make sure that there are the safeguards and the confidence for the teachers.
Ash, as you said, each state has sort of been approaching this issue in its own way. One reason for that has been the staggered school holidays. Now, as you said, in WA, the Premier is working towards a return of school from the start of Term 2, but a final decision to be made in the coming days. In South Australia and Tas, they're taking a more flexible approach. You can attend school or continue to learn from home. Queensland is sticking with remote learning, but that will be reassessed after week 5. Here in the ACT, the push is still for students to remain home, and New South Wales talking about a transition to classrooms from week 3. So potentially there'll be more consistency on these positions after National Cabinet today. Throughout this whole debate, though, the unions have been calling for clear guidelines when it comes to protecting teachers. And without that, the Australian Education Union has been encouraging its members to continue delivering remote learning from home.
What we've sought from the Commonwealth Government is very clear guidelines about the health and safety provisions that need to be in place for our members so that they are safe at school. You cannot reconcile the social distancing requirements, for example, for the entire country and have schools operating with full classrooms. So those state governments that have already put plans in to make sure that we've got ratios in schools, that's welcome news. But the reality is that many of our teachers can and should be working from home to deliver remote learning for their students next term.
So, Ash, when the Prime Minister and Chief Medical Officer address the media, we can expect some clear guidelines around how to maintain that social distancing within schools to both protect teachers and put parents' minds at ease. Ash?